Hey everybody, welcome back to the Quest for the Bestest. It's the podcast from Backlot Banter where we review every single Palme d'Or winner, and today we're in our favorite year of all time. It's 1946, the very first year of the Cannes Film Festival. We are talking about an Indian film from the subcontinent. That would be the movie Neecha Nagar, otherwise translated as Lowly City, directed by Chetan Anand, starring a bunch of 40s Indian actors that I've never heard of, I've never seen on screen before, but I enjoyed watching the movie, and we are going to discuss the finer points of this one. It's a bit of a musical. It's a bit of a social issue movie. It's kind of got a lot for quite an old foreign film. So looking forward to hearing y'all's thoughts on it. As always, audience, if you have thoughts on the movies we watch, write your thoughts in the comments below. Give us a like and a subscribe if you feel like it. And I'll remind you real quickly what we talked about last time, because we decided not to send it to the audience and use our tabulation methods to break a tie for Crossfire, the Edward Dmytryk film from just right around this time, right? 1947 was Crossfire.
It was 1947, yeah.
So just 1 year later from this film that we're talking about today, the 7.33 got Crossfire the number 31 spot on our list. So we'll see where Neecha Nagar ends up today, but yeah, there we have it. Abram, we're going to roll very quickly into talking about the film, but first, you have any comments from the field?
No.
Not a single one.
No, I don't.
No, there's one. There's a comment.
Oh, okay, well, there's a comment.
Let's air this out. Let's air this out right here. Let's do it.
Okay,
let's figure this out. Let's problem solve.
From IPA Chat, you talking about on the Crossfire review?
But yeah, I think so. It's definitely on the Crossfire.
IPA Chat says, "Hi guys, I've tried to write comments a few times and they seem to get deleted. Yet I don't think there's anything offensive. Am I doing something wrong? Is YouTube deleting stuff? I don't know."
Well, I
All right, raise your hand if you've been deleting the comments.
I'm not deleting any comments. So
look, at this point, we're so dry on comments. I'll take the offensive ones. That's not true. Careful.
As long as you're not leaving anything offensive, I don't know why YouTube would be silencing you, of course. But you know, one made it through.
Yeah, one made it through
the firewall. So keep trying.
And then it's like you slip the message through the cracks, and we'll grab onto you, be like, "Come on, man, we'll get through it together."
Which is why I wanted to read this one out. It's a successful attempt.
I guess that's true.
Here's to many more.
Signs of life. Yeah, IPA Chat, your best bet to make sure your comments coming through is to leave 2 or 3 comments on every Quest episode.
They can't catch them all.
Guarantee one will come through at least. They can't catch them all. That's very true.
Yeah, I actually think they probably could.
Well, that's okay. 2 or 3 at a time, yeah, it's not that crazy.
YouTube services, I think they got the power to do that.
No. That's too much bandwidth.
The honest to God truth is, that's very odd. I mean,
yeah, that is very odd.
We'll get spam comments, and those will come through. Like, so
Yeah.
I don't know what you're saying. And you say they're not offensive. Are they like just a random scramble of letters, maybe, that YouTube might think
also,
is like
let's not pretend
is there
that
Bitcoin numbers in there? Like,
let's not pretend that YouTube is not allowing offensive comments on videos.
Yes, they generally allow most comments on most videos.
They're allowing hate speech in a fucking thumbnail. They don't they're not policing or any of these comments. So just make sure, IPA Chat, next time you leave a comment, just make sure you're hit and save, hit and go.
Post.
Yeah.
Well, no, then maybe the problem is they have to be offensive. I mean, it's 2025.
Sure. We're regressing socially in many ways.
How else are you supposed to get noticed online?
Yeah.
Sure.
YouTube only takes offensive comments.
Yeah. I think that's Kick. So when Quest pivots to Kick, then that'll be the case.
And then the third evolution on Rumble is we'll just go right back around a big loop.
Rumble is a friend of the show. We had to watch a movie on Rumble one week.
We watched 2 movies on Rumble, if I remember correctly.
Wow. And this week, everyone.
This week,
we watched our first movie on Wikimedia.
Fucking Wikimedia.
Shout out to Wikimedia.
Tucker, did you check recently how many people, humans, bots, whatever, people, the AIs can be people too, how many have logged this movie on Letterboxd?
Live from the field. 747.
Okay.
Wow.
And
one of which is Tanner. And one of which now is me, so 748.
I don't know that many people.
Yeah.
You might. You definitely met that many people in your life.
That's,
I can name that many people.
It's not many.
Name 700.
Name 748 women.
Hey, Tanner, what's this movie about?
What's the movie about?
Sure, Abram. Thank you for asking. So, the film that we'll be talking about today is, as Timo pointed out, a social issue film. We find ourselves in some sort of an Indian city that is basically divided by income and class. The high city and the low city. They literally call them that in
kind
the
of a
film.
Whiterun situation.
Oh,
Skyrim.
I see.
Skyrim joke.
Gotcha. Okay. Took me a second. We have a bit of an ensemble cast here, but I suppose that you could say the main character of the film is Balraj, who lives in the lower city and is somewhat of a community leader there amongst, along with some other guys from the lower city. And the conflict arises when the government leader assigned to this city, which I don't know if we get a name for it in the film.
Lower city.
True. He lives in the government leader lives in the upper city, of course, and his name is Sarkar, and he has some investments on a piece of land that he wants to develop with some new housing developments, and so he needs to redirect a sewage drain from that area towards the lower city. Basically, it's the only place that he can redirect it to, which would flood the lower city with sewage and dirty water and things of that nature. And wouldn't you guys believe it? People of the lower city not too crazy about that idea. And so the film is really a battle of wills, and who holds social and political power enough to either make this happen or make it stop happening. It does ultimately happen, and then the people of the lower city have to retaliate in some fashion.
Yes.
I'm curious, Abram, I want you to go first. What did you think of this film?
Yeah. So we got to put a big caveat on this conversation, right?
Okay.
And I want
Maybe
to
we
do
should.
so.
Are you going to talk about the transfer?
Yeah. Yes. I'm going to do so through example, right? I just to give me an opportunity to talk about something unrelated that I'm just happy about.
Okay.
I recently went to go see the Antagonist tour. And this is a bunch of rage artists. It's Playboy Cardi, Destroy Lonely, Ken Carson, Homicide Gang, and Apollo
What are they
Red.
mad about?
They're just mad of all kinds of stuff.
They're pissed.
Right?
Don't ask them though.
And this is a show where
The drain is being diverted towards our homes, and we're going to do a concert about it.
Yeah.
Hey, actually,
It's kind of what happens.
And so you're in the venue for the Antagonist tour, and it is all about the energy and flashing lights. You're in there, and you're almost being blinded by the show, right? And the sound is distorted, and you are just here for the vibe, right? And it's incredible. Right. Unfortunately, that's the same experience as that we had watching Neecha Nagar via
on Wikimedia Commons.
There's a point when Cardi started playing one of those iconic and most high energy songs, Stop Breathing. And I recorded just a little bit on my phone to show my sister. And I watched the clip back. It's like, oh my goodness, I can't see what's happening in this video.
Right.
It was more legible than the last 10 minutes of the transfer of this film that we watched. So I'm gonna keep it 100 with you guys. I do not know how this movie ends.
Okay.
I couldn't see.
I can name you a couple of major plot points. We all saw the same part of it. I got the gist.
I got the gist.
To expound on what Abram is saying, because I do think that this is a very awkward position to review a movie from.
Yes.
Is, as far as we can tell, this is the best version of the movie available online.
With English subtitles, which is
English subtitles, yeah.
Yes, but this is also a version of the movie with the subtitles baked into the Wikimedia 240p content.
Yeah.
And they're not great.
It was 560, bro. It was 560p.
I was playing from source.
But the reason it's awkward to review this movie through this context is this is not what the experience of watching this movie as it existed is like. This is not the version of the movie, even close, that the body at Cannes Film Festival saw and reviewed and gave an award. The problems are numerous with this.
Yeah.
Poor timing, audio issues. There's like a thump every time a switches shots. It's crazy.
Sometimes I think I don't know exactly what's happening, but the actual film is moving.
That's why the titles are so wobbly at the beginning, is because I don't know, it's called scanning or tracking or whatever, is like the selection of the film frame that you're trying to take the image from is moving around, and the scanner is not working at a consistent frame rate, and all kinds of good stuff.
So I just think it's important for people to understand this, because I think that there's no world where this didn't significantly harm my viewing experience.
Sure.
And,
Yeah.
and
What
I
about
have
the
to
part of the movie where there's like a foghorn in the background for like 5 minutes, like boo. from whatever like part of the
Yeah.
transfer of the film and the sound strip on the film as they were
Yeah.
recording it, like there's literally a section where it sounds like someone is playing an alarm for like a couple minutes. It's incredible.
So I just think people should understand that, and I think it's also something that I wanted to caveat at the beginning, because I really wish I could have seen this film with more clarity, because I actually think there's a lot of really interesting stuff in here. I think that sort of portrait of this stratified city where we are dealing with this sort of class solidarity and sort of revolutionary camaraderie. I think it's actually quite powerful, and I think that there's some stylistically extremely affecting particular sequences that almost feel very much out of step with the rest of the film. They feel eerie. They feel interestingly edited. There's a real sense of energy and a real interesting, I would say, very progressive political narrative here that I still think is very prescient. I think there's a lot about this movie that really works. That's marred by the transfer, but I do still nonetheless think that even if I were watching a clearer version of the film, I still probably wouldn't be particularly moved by the musical numbers. I still don't think I'd be particularly moved by many of the characters. And I think that the film gets to a point of being quite interesting, but I don't think it begins there. It took a little while for me to really get captured by the film. So all that is to say, I think there's a lot of really cool ideas in here, but it's sort of hard for me to really understand exactly how I relate to the film just by merit of how we watched it. It's awesome to be in the arena and getting flashbanged as Playboy Cardi's performing. It's not awesome to do that when I'm trying to understand the last 10 minutes of a Palme d'Or winning film.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. I'll go next and say that I was interested in wanting to like this movie. I was trying my best, but it was a struggle to watch. And yet I do agree with you, Abram. I think that the editing of this movie is got some really interesting choices. There's a lot of and good, cool choices. Ones that have really cool fades and matching editing. I think that the story has this. I don't know a ton about Indian politics at this time. I know my Gandhi story. We reviewed that movie on this show. But that this nonviolence and public action and boycott and the kind of community-ness of this film is quite inspiring. And so, I think some of the parts were not very effective. I kind of like the singing. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. I didn't find it grating at all. I didn't find it, taking me out of the scene. I was like, oh, cool. Now we're in a little musical moment. Kind of have to wait around in 3-4 minutes for the plot to keep moving forward. But okay, fine. We'll just sit here. And so, I think that it's a tough one to really dig into because of how illegible it is at times. But at the same time, there is, I think, plenty to sink our teeth in and discuss with cinematography, with editing, with the production design, and with the plot, with the story. Tanner, you look like you're ready. You go next.
I'll go next, and I'll just say this. I guess I wasn't like as bothered by the transfer issues as others here. Like I felt like I was still,
if I might add,
a lot of the film through.
I think like the 70% of it is plenty good. Like I can see clearly and understand clearly and figure out that this, the subtitles that came up 3 seconds after the words that were spoken go to those, and it's like I have a brain. I can figure that out.
Listen,
we're not a stranger to a transfer issue problem on the show.
That's true.
We don't talk about it often, but we often watch movies in suboptimal conditions for this.
Listen, I still had to like lock in when there was like a subtitle desync or whatever, and be like, okay, I got to remember what order characters talked in, so I'm matching up
and
which
which
lines they actually. And to that effect, I'm not saying that it's not going to be a hindrance if we wanted to talk about like the production design or whatever. It'd be like, I'll be honest with you, I couldn't really make out a lot of like the depth of a lot of these frames.
I have one production design note, and we'll get to it when we get to it.
Sounds good. But by and large, I would say the story of the film was cutting through to me to the point where I would say I generally thought this movie was pretty okay. Again, it has some character issues and definitely some plot stall outs as well. I want to talk about that a little bit. But I think the political incisiveness and things like that still sort of ring true almost 100 years later. And I don't think that's really something that you can strip out of this film, unless of course you were to watch this on YouTube without English subtitles, which is the way that I thought we were going to have to maybe do this somehow. But anyway,
I'm glad
shout
we
out to
can
Wikimedia
understand
Player, of course.
the dialogue. Yes.
Things going on, and I think there is some really like interesting and radical stuff going on in the story of this film.
Yeah. Tucker.
The great part about what Neecha Nagar kind of stands for is that this is a good example of how, even through the worst possible conditions, the power of cinema to capture a political moment can still remain powerful and thematically engaging for a group of people like us, nearly 100 years removed to it, to be talking about social issues and the powers of politics and the powers of community engagement in these things, and corruption and all this stuff. On a thematic level, I think there's a lot of interesting stuff to talk about here, which is those are the best movies to talk about on Quest. But they're not my favorite movies to talk about on Quest because I also find it hard to buy in on a deeper, more emotional level because I don't get too much out of these characters. I don't think the performances are particularly great. They're certainly hindered by, I think, this movie's biggest issue from the transfer we watched was when there was like 3 layers of desync, which is there's the actions, the audio of the voices, and the subtitles showing up. And it was at like 3 different times, and that was really difficult.
And do you think it got worse? These issues as the movie went on? That's what I was noticing.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was like the last 30 minutes. I'm like, I'm reading the word. It essentially became, I have to gather what's happening.
It's a silent movie with subtitled dialogue that just kind of maybe fits somewhere.
Yeah. And so there's like 3 things here and only one of them works for me. I think that the themes ring true. I think there's actually some pretty interesting moments of choreography and shot composition, and you get the nice back and forth editing of the vulture cutting to the rich guy. Like, okay, you got me, you got me. But the transfer really harmed it, and also this movie's so classically theatrical in a way that's not particularly compelling to me, and that we have these characters that are largely just stand-ins for roles in this society. I don't feel them very personally. I don't really understand their dynamics with one another on like a more deep level. I just kind of understand them as they serve the political turmoil. And so I wasn't personally engaged, but I still think we can have a really cool conversation about it because through everything, I was able to gather what the political message of this movie was and how it represents the time and the interesting moments of, as Tanner was mentioning, sort of radical solutions to problems and things that the movie is presenting. I'm like, there's some interesting stuff here, but I would rather watch any other movie with these themes than this one because I think I would be able to engage with it on a deeper level with synced audio. And also, we didn't really mention this, the resolution is terrible. The resolution is so bad that it's like sometimes hard to make out faces and sometimes like the backgrounds don't make a lot of sense. The transfer really, really harmed this, but ultimately it's like I can still have a good conversation about it so I can respect it in some way.
Sure. Before, Tucker, I have you pose us a first kind of topic area. I do want to bring up a little something because I'm a uneducated bum right now, and so I went on Google and I'm like, okay, what's the day that India gained its independence? Because I'm thinking about this film's position as a Cannes film winner. I mean, we have very few other Indian films in this canon, and so
zero. There's no other.
So then why is there in this very first festival where they've pulled, what is it, 11 movies from 11 countries?
Yes.
To kind of celebrate the end of World War II. Well, guess what? India gains its independence from Britain, little history lesson, in 1947. And so that is after this movie plays at Cannes, after all the production is done with this film. And so if we think about what the movie is really saying and what we were talking about, this is essentially the big story of our proletariat getting together, fighting back against actions of the owning class that are harming them directly, making them all sick, through a nonviolent protest boycott movement. Does that sounds similar.
Non-violent, but also
threatening, but non-violent.
No, but people still die. It's not direct violence, but it is actually it's a sacrificial.
Well, yeah, and I think such a very I think there's a lot to talk about.
Which is the most interesting thematic element of this entire film.
Timo is saying non-violent on the part of
the revolution, right? Yeah, it's like they don't go and kill Sakaar. They shame him. I think to the point of it. Well, does he die or does he go to jail at the end?
Yes, he definitely dies. He's on the floor, and the last thing is like someone running over and be like, oh.
So,
and then the movie kind of ends.
as we think about this film, remember that, well, part of maybe the reason that it even ends up at Cannes in the first place is because India is yet to be independent during the making of this film, and it's kind of positing that that's what should be done.
I mean, to that end, Timo, one of the first moments that I clocked, because it does happen relatively early on in the film, with regards to like the British occupation of India, was this moment when the people of the lower city go to meet with Sarkar for the first time, and one of them suggests, "Oh, we should speak to him in English."
Yeah.
Because almost in a way that makes it seem like, but to show him that like we are serious people, we are people to be seriously negotiated,
and we are
like,
going to engage in politics, and in this time in India, politics are done in English because the British rule the place.
Exactly, and there is a couple English lines of dialogue here, and I just found that interesting. I mean, it just like, makes you think about that cultural context for sure.
And out of all the lines that I had trouble understanding, the English ones came through perfectly.
Well, yes. I wonder if there's a reason for that.
Maybe it's my mother tongue. Tucker, I gave you some things to chew on, but what topic area or kind of discussion area interests you most to begin our discussion here after that little context?
I like how Abram and Tanner nodded at that as if it was something to agree with.
Well, I was more nodding along. Was like, oh yeah, I forgot that we usually pose a question, because I jumped into like, oh, I like this moment in the movie or whatever.
Yeah. I think I want to talk a little bit about the characters at first. Because as I mentioned, I think that they're one of the less interesting aspects to me. And I think a big part of that is because the movie jumps straight into the premise as opposed to having any kind of particular setup of what this... There's like an opening number, like a song number that like I was kind of confused about. I'm like... What is the culture of this place? Who are these people? You get to piece it together over the course of the film, but learning about Balraj and Maya's like history and their relationship there, and you've got the uncle and the sister, and then her husband, and like I think the movie doesn't do a great job for me of establishing who the characters are and their relationships before everything goes haywire and their lives are upended. And I think that's a big part of why I don't have any standout. I think the only standout performance is like the rich bad guy.
The guy who plays Sarkar is pretty good.
Yeah, he's got a presence, and they certainly frame him much more often, like close up, and like so he gets a little bit more of a presence in the film. But on the whole, I think maybe because this movie thematically is much more about collective action, none of the characters really shine for me, and I'm curious if there are any moments of performance or character action or personality that jump out at you guys as something that you will take away from this movie.
I think it's kind of exactly what you were saying, is that the collective of the lower city is kind of like the powerful character, if you can like group them all together as like a character force in the film effectively. Because I mean you have Balraj who is supposed to be this like the right honorable kind of guy, and kind of doesn't have a whole lot of dimension outside of that. He has his past with Maya, which I feel is less delved into than I would have hoped. And really you only get some details on that towards the very end of the film, that adds into like their Maya's romantic interest in Balraj, and then like his shunning of her in return. I think is something... It's something that recurs throughout the film, but you only get detail and meaning behind it towards the very end. But then you also have like Balraj's sister, Rupa, who turns out to be, a martyr for the village and kind of like the activating factor for their real like virulent revolution kind of thing. Yeah, but a lot of them are just like these are good, honorable people. I think is kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing, and they should be respected, and they are not being respected, and that is where the conflict of the movie comes from. There's also the Weasley dirtbag guy. What's his name? It also starts with an S. I wrote it down here
Cigar.
somewhere. Yeah, thank you. Yes, not Sarkar. Sugar is the other
Sugar,
guy,
yes.
Who's like a lower city guy. He's married to Rupa or something like, or
Oh, yeah,
has
that's
like,
right. Yeah.
but he basically sells them down the river, literally, in his dealings with Sarkar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I sort of think about like what does the text need to accomplish, and I think that for a film like this, to your point, Timo, to the context you raise, I think what the text of the film needs to do is it needs to inspire a belief in this collective action, and I think that and maybe a stronger version of this film would also sort of ratchet up the emotional stakes of the film in a more believable way to make then the collective coming together even more effective. But I think what it opts for instead is sort of deploying characters strategically to the end goal, rather than sort of making a more organic set of characters then add up to something. I think about a film that I really like called How to Blow Up a Pipeline.
Mm.
And I think that that is interesting because that film is also about a lot of people coming together towards this political goal, but it sort of begins by really centering us in who the people are. I think that
Yep.
this film is not so concerned with that. I think it's more concerned with, as
what
we're
their
saying,
situation is.
it's concerned with the situation. It's concerned with the dynamics within it. And I think that that's largely effective, but where I would agree with Tucker on the whole about this being a weakness of the film is when Rupa is when she dies from not being taken to the hospital. I don't really feel the emotional weight of that scene. And that's certainly just in part because the way that more modern films are going to declare that sort of emotional moment are different. But I think it is partially just because I don't think I really understand these characters particularly well. And I just don't think the film is particularly interested in that. I think it's at its best when it uses those characters strategically towards the political ends of the film. So to that end, I think the scene that's maybe most interesting to me is when we're trying to care for this young boy, but we learn that there's no water,
Mm-hmm.
and we're sort of running from house to house looking for water. I think that that's very effective because that's where the plot taking charge works quite well, and the plot is in the foreground. So I think the characters are deployed just not in a way that I would prefer, not in a way that I think is strongest, but I think that the situation is so strong that it compensates.
Yeah. I mean, the most emotionally powerful moments of this movie are those broad, full community moments where it's not focused on the interpersonal dynamics that I think are serviceable, but on the large scale, kind of weak. But I think of, you're right, when Rupa dies, it's not like, I'm not like, oh, damn, I really liked that character. I understand kind of intellectually and like empathetically that means something to her community, that means something to her brother, to her uncle, those people around her, but not on a writing level. But then what the movie does right after that is use her sacrifice as her death as she becomes ostensibly a martyr to the people of, if she was willing to do this, because the point that we've kind of glossed over, I think is the most interesting element of this entire film, is that the way that they are protesting largely is by not giving into the system, which means that they will not, even though they are sick because there is either no water, or the water they have is ostensibly sewage, they will not give into the system and utilize the rich people's modern medicine in the higher city, and they would rather die than use the hospital, go to the hospital.
Yeah.
And Rupa dies essentially because of this. I can't remember exactly if that's like a conscious decision on her part, like if she's like, no, I will not go to the hospital. It's kind of like
I think it is. She like begs
wakes
them.
up because
that's right.
Balraj is about to cave because he's asking all the people, he's asking Yakub and so one other character that's in the room with them. He's like, well, do you think we should bring her to the hospital? And they don't really say anything, but they kind of look away in a way that's like, where he's like, okay, let's do it. And then in that moment, Rupa wakes up and she's like, no, don't take me to the hospital, anything but the hospital, etc., etc. And then basically cut to, I mean,
it cuts to like some
town,
town conflict scene
it's
where
the townspeople like turning on Balraj, being like, he's telling us not to take our friends and family to the hospital. Meanwhile, his niece went to the hospital and she got better. And then they storm to Balraj's family's door, and he's like, all right, guys. They're like, where's your sacrifice? What have you sacrificed? And he's like, you guys want to see what I've sacrificed? And then
you want to see some receipts? I got him.
And then he shows them sort of Rupa's body in her sort of like funeral wrap or whatever.
Proud.
Yeah.
And then but what I was getting to with all that is that this is a decent string of events, but what is really then emotional is the way that there's one of the celebratory songs, but it's not a celebration in a positive way. It's like a unification song.
Definitely. Yes.
Of the people of the city rallying towards the point of, okay, this sacrifice has been made. Let us take that and let it inspire us to unify ourselves, fight against this cause, show that we do have the power together. And there's these really amazing wide-scale shots of people standing like on a stage that's like framed by some rocks, and there's people in the background, and then like they get out torches to like move through the night, and like we get this amazing shot of like a stream of torches going up a hill, and like people marching up. It's like an infinite line of people marching up this hill. And I'm like, this is like, that is where I feel the emotion of the movie is not in the interpersonal, not in the personal emotion, but in the people have then been inspired by this.
The individual versus the collective.
Whoa.
There's a little bit of that. I feel to our sort of critique of, well, there's no individuality, there's no depth to any of the characters in particular. I was thinking about that as a recurring thing that I think we all kind of said in some fashion, one way or another, that like, this is not a Western American film. They have different ideals towards character and motivation, and this one is very communally focused.
Collectivism versus individualism.
Yeah. It's something I've been thinking about. If Abram can invoke the adrenaline tour, what'd you call it? Antagonism tour. Then I can invoke the first 2 episodes of Apple TV Plus's Pluribus.
I watched the first one the other night
as another recent work of artistry that made me think about that topic, about like the collectivism versus American, specifically individualism, and how we may impose that way of thinking onto other people or other, works of art, in this case, of us discussing Neecha Nagar.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point. And I think that the film is specifically, I think there's even an argument that it's specifically interested in critiquing this sort of individualist viewpoint. Because I think one of the
characters we do understand is very individualist and very self-seeking, and is that where you were going with that point?
Well, actually, it wasn't, because where I was going to take it was that I think that there's this interesting idea that I think is very much still true today, of this sort of fixation on the individual hypocrisy rather than a systemic injustice. Because I think
that is like the super interesting part of the theme of this movie, is that the fight isn't to stop being sick by treatment. Like, we've already said this, but I think it's worth repeating that it is, let's go to the root cause of our sickness. Let's, go ahead, Abram, but after you're done, now is the time to bring in my production design note.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think what's really effective about the way the film is constructed is that it creates and then points to a system whereby the oppressor is both the cause of the disease and responsible for the cure. And I think that what the film is interested in is attacking the idea of complicity or involvement with either. And I think it's interesting that there's a lot of outrage that, Balraj, in the eyes of these people who don't yet know that Rupa has died, that he would hypocritically say, oh, I hate the hospital, but I've taken my sister there. And I think that this is a this is a constant and pernicious mindset of focusing on the individual's hypocrisy opposed to the system and the framework of that system, which is oppressing everybody. Even if Balraj were to have taken his sister to the hospital to save her life, it doesn't change the fact that the system has been created to keep them subservient and reliant upon the municipal government of the higher city. I really like how the film is in dialogue with the use of boycott, the idea of who you should actually be angry at, and solidarity. I think this is a film that's very concerned with solidarity, and I think that that is why it remains, I think, very prescient.
Yeah. And so then my point is, well, it's a little bit in the weeds, a little bit technical, down and dirty, you might say. But the reason that this this systemics that I think we arrive at our characters and me as a viewer being like, okay, well, how do we? I'm watching. I'm trying to think along with the characters to how we should get out of this mess. But the way that we are introduced to the mess to begin with is that we are told by Sarkar that that it's fine water. We got a guy. We're gonna have very clean water. We're gonna have a guy dealing with the pollution. Where
the cleanest water, crystal clear.
You're gonna wash your clothes with it. You're gonna grow your vegetables with it. You're gonna drink it. And then we cut and they divert the drain channel, and the production design shows us that even in black and white, this water is not clean, not even close.
It's mostly mud.
It's mostly mud and flotsam, and
is there some jetsam in there too?
There might be. It's a little hard to. I can't.
That's a TV show.
The jetsam is lost in the transfer, I think.
I see. Well, that's fair enough.
But I think as a viewer, just my response to it is I am actually so disgusted by these images that then when we are discussing what to do in the film, do we go to the hospital? It's like, well, yeah, if you start going to the hospital, this dirty water is never going to go away. And, your dysentery problems, I mean, this is that's what I think they're suffering from, is dysentery, aren't going to be solved. And so that little bit of, well, yeah, it's sometimes harder to see into the depths of these frames and how these rooms and this architecture and all these kind of contextual elements to these people's lives are physically constructed. The physical reality of that water is very clear in the film, and I think it's very important for us to see that and to think ourselves: would you want to drink that water? Would you want to be around that water? So that's I think I give the film very high marks for being very specific about that point.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about another character in particular because we point to the individualism of our characters who are sort of on the other side of the issue. We've talked about Sarkar, who is a pretty cut and dry bad guy, doesn't care about the the less fortunate or whatever. It goes on a long tirade at basically the beginning of the third act or whatever, when all these business leaders come to him, when he's like, hey man, we should maybe stop diverting that drain towards the lower city people because they're getting really pissed at us, us specifically, and they're tearing down stuff at my buildings and destroying my newspapers or whatever. And he's like, you motherfuckers, I do everything for you, god damn it, I am your god. Yes, Timo, he literally says that. So that's pretty cut and dry for him.
There's a great line later on where it's like, if you're not even human, how can you be a god?
Yeah. But I want to talk about his daughter, who we've invoked a little bit earlier, Maya.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to really make of this character, or specifically how she was being talked about for a lot of this movie. And I want to know what you guys think of this. Is that some of the very first lines in this film are the people of the lower city blaming Maya for what is about to happen, not Sarkar. No, they don't really invoke his name in this. It was like, oh, Maya should stop this from happening. This is Maya's fault to some degree, and that happens a couple of times across the movie. I was like, what role does she have in this, or is this some commentary on misogyny that they're sort of putting this onto Maya when she doesn't really have a role in this? But then we also see her be pretty naive around her father and his political dealings, and really just kind of willing to accept whatever he says on the subject until like later in the film, obviously. Um, and then there's the moment where like even the high city people begin to shun her because they also begin to blame her for the lower city and the living conditions down there. So I don't know. Do you guys catch something that I maybe didn't catch, or what are your feelings on this?
I think that there are some gender and politic context that I'm missing, and so that I don't have the full, because it seems that there's not only is there like this informal relationship where Maya is like somewhat in charge of governing, or at least like transmitting the worries and requests of the lower city up to her father.
Mhm.
But it is not formalized, and the evidence, like you talked about it in the later part of the movie, where the upper city people get mad at her also. Um, I don't know. It seemed to me like she has some sort of formal responsibility in this
Yeah.
role, but it isn't delineated. It's not official. It exists, but
It's just there's lines to the effect of like maybe you're right, Timo, that like maybe she is like some sort of like
she's like a
purveyor
minister or whatever. I don't know.
between like higher city and the lower city, because there's one point at which she complains that her father never lets her go down there.
Yeah, it could be, but yeah, because, well, I don't know. Her love and her romance probably plays into this
Mhm.
somehow, but
Yeah,
I just don't know how
I
to.
gotta say that this returns to part of the thing that I think is a weakness of this movie, is that there are moments of the film that are more geared towards the interpersonal emotions of it, and the roles they specifically serve in their community, and the ways that they relate to each other, and the past that they have. But the movie does quite a poor job at actually establishing that, and so there was many moments in this where, like, are they are these people actually related? How do they know one another?
Mm.
Like, what is the role they serve to each other? And Maya is the ultimate example of that, especially as the movie transitions into, which I think is another one of the more interesting elements of this movie, plot wise. The last act of the movie is more about the it's like the consequences of not treating your community properly, and the ways in which that can, often doesn't, but in this movie it does, reflect back onto you, and pushes people to treat you in a negative way because they perceive you, and I think rightfully so in this situation, as someone who's doing harm to the community. And so there's like a 20-minute chunk of this movie where it's like people being like, wait, these people suck. Like, I can't believe they're doing this. Like, ew, you're weird. And why are you doing this? But then there's just Maya like sitting there at a table. She's like, waiter, waiter. And it's like, ew, you're stinky. I don't want to be sitting at a table next to you. And I'm like, where the hell did this come from? Who are these people? Like, I appreciate that in some form of solidarity, the people of the higher city are empathizing with the lower city and like shunning the people that are causing the issues. But like, what does Maya have to do with this? Who are these people? Why are, even as higher city people, like, why are they relating this way? The movie kind of skips a step, and
Mm.
I'm like, this is an interesting sequence, but what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, I think I really like this idea that Maya keeps appealing to her father to have the drain be diverted back as it was previously because of the hate they're receiving. This is sort of a repeated idea at the end of the film. You know, we're getting all of this hate. We're getting all this
Mhm.
hate. And I think seeing the social consequences of that hate is useful in the scenes you're talking about, Tucker, even if sort of the particularities of them aren't, super well defined. I think the the cause and effect is defined, I think. And so I appreciate that the film is kind of involved in this idea again of illustrating why boycotts are effective, why that's an effective tool,
Mhm.
because we're sort of seeing this social pressure that's being put on Maya and then is ostensibly killing her father. I think that that's useful. The film doesn't end in a crescendo of violence as this mob that is as though a mob is rolling through to kill him
Mm.
in the dialogue that's being had over the trench. Instead, the people have assembled, and through their collective voice and through their revealing of the injustice that is being perpetrated on them, to the extent to which they're willing to forego medical treatment from that same oppressive force, that's going to trickle down to the waiter that doesn't want to be involved with Maya. That's going to make Maya feel bad. And I think that actually showing her feeling bad is good. I think that's an important thing to indicate.
Yeah.
Get to the root of these people and erode that.
Yeah, she doesn't feel bad because it's, a bad situation and her father's doing the wrong thing and all these people are sick. She feels bad because they hate her. It's like,
I was worried for a little bit towards the end of the film that especially when she like runs away from Balraj, who like shuns her in her romantic approach, and she like falls into the river, or the water basically. I was like, oh, is she gonna like die now?
Yeah,
like is that going to be the consequence?
About
I was
that.
like, oh, well, that's a little bit worrisome that like she is I guess somewhat innocent. Again, it goes back to like what is her role a little bit like, but like she is a sacrifice in the script basically to make change happen. A little much like Rupa was. But no, she does like she like shows up at this town hall basically covered in like sewage, and walks next to her father and says like, all right guys, I fell into the water down there and this is what it is. And then basically her presence is what motivates everyone to be like, okay, Drain should be pushed back to its original spot.
And I actually think that this is a more complicated and nuanced ending than it even appears, because we have these two beloved figures in Maya and Rupa. One dies at the hands of the sewage, and one by falling into it, and somebody of her class, instead of being exposed to it, is ultimately it's going to lead to this change. She's going to go and she's going to shower that off and she's going to be fine. I think that the film is like really concerned, in my opinion, with illustrating the need to put the lean on somebody like Maya, and seeing what she can accomplish. I don't think that's to disempower the people of the lower city, but I think it's to indicate how they use the power they have and what levers they did pull.
It's like another form of empowerment for them.
Yeah, I think it's quite nuanced. I think it's a very interesting ending. Yeah. I actually like the ending of the film a lot.
And I especially like the shot where she shows up dirty, and there's like this moment where she like appears in a shadow at the end of the hall,
yeah, like a silhouette,
and she's like, "I have something to say," and it's very theatrical.
I object.
I object. No, you shall not vote this way. This is maybe one of the most like theatrical moments of the movie, where it's like, okay, all right, it's a little convenient how it happens, but she shows up and she walks to the front. And her father's like, daughter, what are you doing here? Daughter, don't do this. And then she's like, oh, you're talking about the water? This water? And there's a shot of her squeezing the water out of her hair.
Yeah, it looks like the ring.
Yes, it does.
And she has very long hair, so there's this very long a shot of it's not dollying, it's not panning. What's the up and down one?
Pedestaling. I went to film school. Where's my diploma?
Yes, I mean, so did I. I learned it, but I forgot. But pedestaling down and tracking her hand as it's like squeezing the water. I'm like, that is a excellent shot. The distance of which the camera has to travel accentuates the fact that all of this gunk is in her hair. And it's just an interesting way to show that. And then, of course, everyone sees that and they're like,
yeah.
Well, no, let us not vote.
I think that
there's the way that we were going to.
There's a moment in that sequence beforehand where one of the other, influence peddlers has like a different tin of water and is like, look,
and oh, look at this. Look, it comes out like coal. Can't you see? This is what all the poor people are complaining about.
And it's like
this
clear,
perfectly crystal clear water.
Yeah. I mean, this whole ending sequence of the film just reminded me like so much of these. They're a little bit aged now, but these viral videos of like fracking executives being poured the water that's coming out of their areas in West Virginia and Oklahoma and places like that.
Pulling like Aaron Brockovich, I like to call it.
Do you want to drink that? I don't think so.
I also, sorry, Aaron, you go ahead.
Well, I was going to launch into a criticism.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll say something that I do like about the ending of the film, which again we should note is quite obfuscated by some celluloid damage on the film in the
Perhaps
last 10 minutes or so.
perhaps the reason that there's not a greater restoration or there hasn't been more, this is in a canon that, like, I don't know, we are film bros and we're here caring about it. Seemingly very few others do. Do you think that there's even a print, like a physical existing copy of this film that could be salvaged or doesn't have all that damage at the end? Because that's clearly like
I mean,
on the film, like it's clearly that
there are
that data is
versions
just
on
missing.
YouTube that there are versions on YouTube that I didn't watch very long of just because I saw that there weren't English subtitles and so I clicked away from them. I don't know. You could poke into those and like skip to the last 5-10 minutes and see if they are the same or not. I couldn't tell you, but the death of Sarkar, I just wanted to bring up as well as something that is, yeah, he is. It's more, it's a bit ethereal. It's a bit symbolic. His death. I mean, he literally dies, of course, but from what is kind of the question, I suppose.
Going to jail.
Go. There almost to me seems to be the implication that like spiritually, like from some other realm of existence, that he is being like struck down for his hubris and evilness, just because he's looking at a lot of like artwork of
He's got those like weird figures in his office.
Yes,
I mean,
there's the painting of like somebody like poking out from behind like a tree or some tall grass or something that is then he sees hallucinated, like replicated in like his palace, behind a pillar or whatever.
Yeah.
That like this is like a spirit of death coming for him, finally striking him down after all of this. I don't know. I just found that pretty compelling as like an obfuscated way of like, yeah, man, like karmically, this guy is getting what's coming to him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Abram, your criticism? Want to launch in?
Yes. I think that the musical dimension of this film is not particularly strong.
Okay.
I think that the performances are affable. I think that the music is obviously very much. It almost serves often to recap the emotional undertones of the sequence we've just completed. Or the emotional undertones of the sequence we're about to launch into. So it serves sort of this very static function in the narrative, and I don't find that the way that it's filmed to be particularly inspired. And the reason I was thinking about this just now is because, to Tucker's point before, I think there's actually some very arresting cinematography in this film, and you don't need a particularly high quality transfer to appreciate really interestingly blocked and shot scenes.
I think with bright light, dark shadow. That's the winning combo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's just some really interesting composition. Tucker mentioned it briefly, but the shot where I think it's Balraj from behind, and he's sort of framed in this rock crevice, and then you see the people in front of him. There's a lot of beautiful work here, but I think that doesn't really extend to most of the musical numbers. There's one where they're marching that I think is more effective than the rest.
There's two where like the town comes together and like begins marching towards the high city, and I think those are the best. I think lyrically those are also the ones that cut through the most to me. I actually did write down a lyric from the first time it happens, which note on that in a second. If death is ours, then so are our lives. I really like that. Like that lyric in that first one. But then also after that, and this is going a little bit beyond the song point you're talking about, Aim, but I do just want to throw it out there. That is like the major plot stall out that I kept talking about, is that after that first sort of collective, all right, guys, let's go fuck them up moment, which comes before they decide to
boycott the hospital.
Before they decide boycott the hospital, it's sort of the first time it happens. Like they all get together, they all have this marching rise up song. And then nothing really comes of that until Balraj shows up in the palace and Maya's there, and then they talk, and then she goes down and confronts her father, and that's what kicks off the whole hospital thing, which is a far more interesting dimension of the film, as we've talked about, than anything that happens previously. I'm just like, well, what happens in like that intervening 10 minutes of any substance, even though we seem like we're building up to something a little bit more grandiose. and it doesn't really come about. But then it ultimately does the second time it happens. I digress. Anyway, I agree with you, Abram. Outside of like the big numbers, those two big numbers, I was like, I could take or leave the songs here. I mean, they literally did at the Cannes Film Festival. There's a title card at the beginning. It's like, this film was shown with one song less and no dancing. I was like, I couldn't imagine watching this song with one song less and no dancing. Can you imagine? But not super effective. I felt the other musical sequences.
I understand why it exists in the film. I'm gonna be like I said earlier, and it's like it was fine for me. I think that there's a lot more reasons. But then, okay, Tanner, forgive me if I'm stealing some trivia thunder from you, but I did notice this is like plastered all over the Wikipedia and the IMDb pages in this one that this film didn't screen in India until 1980s.
It was broadcasted on TV in the 80s, but it never received a theatrical release in India or anything like that.
And so what I was gonna say was that, well, you would put, at least, let's go to what we know. In America, you put song and dance in a movie to get people to buy tickets. I mean, it's very, like, you're gonna do it to show off Julie Andrews, or you're gonna do it to have, Fred Astaire go crazy. But it's like, that's because we pay money to go see them sing and dance. And so the fact that this film was never released in India, perhaps the political turmoil of the immediately following year had something to do with that. But that doesn't square with my analysis that you would put the singing and dancing in to sell tickets, given that the movie never really sold any tickets.
This is also based on a stage production.
Oh, sure.
It is initially a play, or that's what the Wikipedia entry says, which also could have had musical sequences in it as well. But
I actually saw that the play that the movie was based on a Gorky novel, a Russian novelist's work.
Interesting. But between the four of us, I think it's not any surprise that like Indian movies have song and dance numbers in them.
Yes,
either interspersed in the narrative or at the end or whatever. So to me it was just like, well, yeah, this is like, it's an Indian movie. It's gonna have this stuff in it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me the musical numbers, to Abrams' point, I think largely fall flat because they're not character focused, and the ones that aren't big choreography focused, I agree, those are some of the more impressive ones, more engaging ones, and the ones that aren't are kind of just community members. Like, it's there's not as much like in another musical. It's like, all right, here's Balraj's number. Right?
Yeah.
And it's like, this is about his emotions.
Mhm.
These are all things that are more about the general social situation of the lower city, but because they're not foregrounded by the emotions of these characters and the performances of the characters, I find them less. They're less connected. They don't heighten the personal emotions. And again, maybe this is my Western individualist mind wanting that more out of a story. But it's a little bit more jarring to see like the community members are just kind of like random people doing these song and dance numbers that are just like them literally dancing than what I'm used to in musical numbers that I do quite enjoy. So yeah, I don't know. I wasn't totally sold on them, but it also does make this feel culturally distinct in the way that I have enough of a knowledge and experience with Indian cinema to know that this is something that is a staple of that era of that, what's the word I'm looking for, that culture, that part of the world. But it didn't really. I kind of almost forget that they happen. I'm not really paying attention.
Yeah,
I'm like,
well, and they don't.
Yeah, I guess it's happening.
They don't like influence the plot.
No, again, it's what Abram already said is that they seek to basically reaffirm character emotional beats that we've just witnessed. So yeah.
Yeah, and that's why I do think that the film, or one of the reasons why I do think the film feels somewhat stilted. And I agree with you completely, Tanner. I think that it's interesting, right? Because you kind of need the plight to ratchet in intensity, to understand and contextualize why you would go as far as to let somebody you love die rather than being treated in the hospital. I certainly appreciate that we need that gradual or and then exponential escalation, but I do feel like it also just results in a film that takes a while to really hook me.
Yeah. It certainly has an ebb and flow of energy and interest, I would say, which is
a flotsam and a
probably
jetsam.
a bit of a flotsam and a jetsam. Thank you, Timo. I'm just looking to see if I have anything else here about the film. I like I've mentioned it previously, the sort of Balraj Maya scene. That when she like really is romantically pursuing him, she's laying out like, "Hey, I like you. Remember our time in college?" What I sort of mentioned earlier, that like I wish these details would have been a little bit more present earlier in the film. But like you almost think that he's gonna be like, "Ah, you're right, Maya. I am also in love with you." But then what does he say? Hang on, I wrote it down. No, oh no, oh no, I can't find it. I can't find it.
Oh.
Oh wait, yeah, I got it. He's like, she says, "Do you remember our time in college?" And then he approaches her slowly with like this great, dramatic tension. And he turns his head and he grabs a torch off the wall and he says, "I only remember the torch." And he marches out the door.
Yeah.
That's a good line.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Yeah.
Crazy
I like
way
that.
to break up with someone.
Yeah, I mean,
Be like, no, thank you.
Do we see them again at the end of the movie? We kind of do. I think there's some promise that like, she's been broken out of the control of her father, and now maybe they'll get together now. Whereas the financial and social state of affairs that would have prevented that previously.
I'm getting ready to put in a score. I don't know if I have too much more to say.
Yeah,
personally.
I don't really know if I have a lot more to say either, actually. Here's what I'll say.
Oh, he has something to say.
I have something to say. Not really about the movie. It's about me.
Okay, fair enough.
I have something serious to say.
I appreciate watching.
Thank you, Wacky Dog.
I appreciate watching international cinema like this. I found it like more consistent and more quote unquote modern. I don't think that's great wording to use to describe this film than I was expecting. I found it to be especially like what we're talking about, the cinematography, this very expressionist look to the film, to have a unique and a different quality, but one that is existing within the film dialogue and the film language that I know how to speak. And so, yeah, I always appreciate getting to watch an international film like this, and especially a rather obscure one. I mean, we get a feather in our cap for watching this movie.
Obscure. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think
review of this movie on YouTube.
Huh?
Are we the first review of this movie on YouTube?
Likely. Or I mean, first white boys to review this?
Almost certainly.
Neecha Nagar review.
Yeah, look that up.
Yeah, there's something here, but
okay.
Alrighty, we got 3 scores. I'm waiting on the Tan Man's.
Oh shoot, I forgot about that. I gotta do it. We've done the poem details on this. Do we really need to do it again?
No,
we've done it like nine.
It's 1946.
We've done it like 9 times. Let's do this. There we go.
Alrighty, 3, 2, 1. Calculate.
Tabulate.
Ooh, we're pretty much in agreement here. This is very close scores. We've got a 5.9 for the average. The point breakdown is Abram gave it a 5.3. Tucker gave it a 5.8. I gave it a 6.1, and Tanner gave it a 6.5. So that's all pretty close. 5.9. It's gonna take us
to a tie.
A little ways up there to a tie between a little film called Red Meadows.
Yes. Which not translated from English means what?
Derota Enga.
Tanner, you asked that question really wrong.
I know.
Not translated from English, it means what?
a.k.a. its original language title.
That's right.
Derota
Enga.
This is one of the Rumble movies we were mentioning at the beginning.
Yes, it is. It certainly is.
Correctly.
This is for anyone who doesn't remember. This is the one that's about the spy network during World War II
in Denmark. Yeah, in Denmark.
And they put the guy's hands in the damn vice.
They do put the guy's hands in the damn vice.
That's right.
I would personally go Red Meadows.
Okay.
I'm gonna go this.
I'm gonna go
this as well.
I'm gonna go Neecha Nagar as well. Because
I think for me it just stands out a lot more.
Yeah,
My problem with Red Meadows isn't anything inherent to
Mm-hmm.
itself, but is that there's
It's-
so many movies in this body that
Yeah.
fill that same niche. This is gonna be a lot more memorable to me, other than the fact that I like to say Dorota Anga much more than I like to say Neecha Nagar, which I have to specifically enunciate for very particular reasons.
Certainly.
Sorry, certainly.
This is I think for me thematically a much more interesting movie. It is specifically the idea of that personal sacrifice being an element of protest that we don't really see. Like, this movie takes a very dark turn to its subject matter in the way that the people have to die to prove their point. And that feels a lot more bold to me than a lot of these movies.
It's a little more realistic
also,
too. I mean,
Yeah,
Hollywood is going to shy away from having that kind of message most
Yeah.
times.
It's also again kind of crazy, just to reiterate, the only Indian film in like the nearly 100 or the 100 Palme d'Or winners, 101 I think now technically.
And a film like this, part of the thing that's going on about it feeling modern and up to date with these other 40s movies is like, this is evidence of a burgeoning / flourishing film industry. I think this is a Punjabi movie, if I'm not mistaken. I think it said something in the beginning of on one of those certificates at the beginning. And so India, of course, we know has many different centers of film production. Hindi language film. Okay. And so what the heck, Palme jury? What the heck, Cannes grand jury? Like, you've proven to us that you can accept movies of quality and repute, at least to this level, from India, from a long time ago. They've only gotten better, because everybody's gotten better at making movies. So where's the dice? Where's the, what's the problem?
So here's a question for you guys, because I'm not massively aware of how films are put up for Palme d'Or. Is there sort of every year an Indian film is put forth, or do they sometimes opt not to put up a film?
There are certainly Indian films that get into competition, but it is a screening process. Effectively, it's the Cannes jury sort of like it watches a shit ton of films that are submitted to them from all over the world.
Sure.
Multiple films from the same country. It's not like a one per kind of situation.
Okay.
Yeah.
But like they let sometimes, but they have to make a selection of 20 odd films every year, and sometimes there's Indian films in there, and sometimes there isn't. I thought that that there was another one coming up, but Deepan from 2015 is a Sri Lankan film. Takes place in Sri Lanka, is technically a French production. It's directed by our good friend Jacques Audiard of Amelia Perez fame.
Oh hell yeah!
In fame.
Yes, I guess in fame.
So I forgot to tell you, dear audience, what number Neecha Nagar went at. It's at spot number 43 on the list. So it's Antoinette, Neecha Nagar, and Dorota Anga. 3 non-English titled movies. Bing, bang, boom.
Bing, bang, boom, indeed.
Okay. Is it time? Is it time to sing us a little song? Have our musical moment.
Yes, it is. Quite ineffective this always is, too.
Oh, give me a moment. Here we go. There it is.
Okay, right. He's got the wheel. Wheel, wheel, what's your deal? Give us a movie that makes us squeal. Is it on digital or is it on real? Wheel, wheel, what your deal?
Oh, we almost had an old one right there, didn't we? But we don't. It's 33. See. Number 33.
Number 33. Okay.
That's a bouncy number.
It is a bouncy number?
What are you talking about?
Some numbers are bouncy. Some numbers are not bouncy. Some numbers.
Are you just talking about in vibe? Is that what you're talking about?
Purely, yeah. How you say them, how they're shaped. What kind of things you might count with that number.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna, Timo, if you forgive me, I'm gonna move on. This film is from 1999 is the one we're talking about.
The best year of civilization.
That's true.
Is the Phantom Menace?
From there. It's not the Phantom Menace. The Phantom Menace could have been at the Cannes Film Festival that year. Let's find out. Just quickly, I'll look if it was in competition.
Well, I mean, recently a Lucasfilm movie was at the Cannes Film Festival.
It's true.
I'll do some. It wasn't in competition. I'll look into if it was maybe like a special screening or something at the 1999 festival. But anyway, the film we will be reviewing is a French and Belgian film. It stars some French and Belgian actors, as you might expect. Fabrizio Rangione, Olivier Gourmet, and Amelia Dequesne. This is from some folks that we have discussed on the show previously.
Friends?
The Dardenne brothers, Jean-Pierre and Luc Dardenne. This is their 1999 film, Rosetta. Yes. This is the child, L'Enfant.
L'Enfant. Ah, uh-huh. Ooh, L'Enfant was a downer. Oh my god.
It was a downer. You know, these guys are known for making some downer social issue films. But yeah, Rosetta is about a young, impulsive Rosetta, lives a hard and stressful life as she struggles to support herself and her alcoholic mother. Refusing all charity, she is desperate to maintain a dignified job.
This sounds like a rager.
This sounds like Palme d'Or core 100p.
Oh yeah. But yeah, to your question, Tucker. Yes, I believe this is the last double winner we will cover. Only a handful of directors have
that
won
was my
two.
Question?
Well, you pointed out these guys won again. Is kind of your thing. Is what you said.
Oh, I see. Oh, there's been no repeat winners.
No, there's been a handful of repeat winners, but I think we've covered almost all of them except for this last Dardenne film. I want to say. Oh no, wait. We got another Imamura in the 90s as well. The guy who did Narayama.
Yeah, he did Narayama.
The Ballad of.
That was the only Japanese film we've talked about?
So far, we did Kurosawa.
Oh yeah, we did.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. We can't be forgetting him.
Can't be forgetting that. But I think outside of this, and then if we do that second Imamura, I believe that's all of the repeats because we've done 2 Hanekas, of course, and then there's one other guy that it's not important. We can end the show.
All right. Next time we're gonna talk about Rosetta from the Dardenne Bros and
Ken Loach. It's Ken Loach, by the way. We've done both
Ken
films.
Loach, my goat.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
No, wait,
cool.
We've only done one. Sorry. End the show, Timo. I'm sorry.
You're yanking my chain, bro.
I'm sorry. I'm zipping it.
Next time, Rosetta. Thanks for watching. Write some comments down below. Have you seen the movie? Reply why. Have you seen the movie? No? Reply no. N. Y or N in the comments. No more characters will be allowed. That's going to do it from us. Stick around for next time. You know what I say. Stay cool. Keep warm. Peace.